Most men over 50 believe they've become invisible to women. But here's the truth they're missing. When a woman feels genuine attraction toward a mature man, she doesn't confess it openly or chase him down. Instead, she does something far more subtle. She asks two very specific questions. These aren't casual. They're carefully designed tests of your emotional readiness. Miss them and you'll lose her interest forever. Recognize them and everything changes. The two critical questions that reveal her interest. Here's something most men completely overlook. A woman who craves intimacy with an older man will never announce it. She won't walk up and confess her feelings. She won't make it obvious. What she does instead is far more intelligent. She tests you with two carefully chosen questions that appear innocent on the surface but carry enormous weight underneath. The first question sounds simple enough. Do you spend a lot of time alone? Now, you might hear this and think she's just making conversation. Maybe she's curious about your lifestyle. Perhaps she's wondering if you're lonely. But that's not what's happening at all. When a woman asks you this, she's measuring something much deeper. She's testing your emotional availability. She wants to know if there's space in your world for her. Is your heart open, or have you closed yourself off behind routines and habits? This question is her way of asking without asking, can I enter your life, or are you emotionally unavailable? Women phrase it in different ways. Sometimes it's, do you usually go out alone? Other times, you seem like someone who enjoys solitude. Is that true? Or she might ask, are you seeing anyone or just doing your own thing lately? The words change, but the intention remains the same. She's already imagined herself somewhere in your life, and now she needs to know if that's even possible. If she felt nothing for you, she wouldn't care how you spent your time. But when she's drawn to the calm stability that mature men carry, this question becomes her first step toward you. The second question cuts even deeper. What are you looking for these days? This isn't small talk. This is her way of exploring you as a romantic possibility. She might say it differently. What are you hoping for in your life right now? Or what kind of connection do you want these days? Or are you open to something serious or just enjoying life? But no matter how she phrases it, she's asking about your inner direction. She needs to know if your life has purpose, clarity, and movement. Women don't open themselves emotionally or physically to men who drift through life without intention. They need to feel that you're anchored, that you know who you are and where you're going. This question reveals whether you're emotionally alive or just going through the motions. She's trying to sense if being close to you will feel safe and meaningful. Can she trust you with her heart? Will stepping toward you be worth the risk? Women save this question for men they see as meaningful. It feels exposed and intimate to ask, so if she's asking you, she's already considering you seriously. These two questions are her quiet way of stepping toward you without making herself vulnerable to rejection. She won't chase, she won't beg, she won't repeat herself. She'll ask once and watch your energy carefully, deciding in that moment to move closer or quietly walk away.
2. Why women communicate this way. The hidden psychology. Here's something most men never grasp about feminine psychology. Women don't communicate attraction the same way you do. While you might offer help, step forward with action, or make your interest obvious, she operates in an entirely different language, one built on subtlety, emotional safety, and carefully measured risk. Think about it from her perspective for a moment. She sees you, a man over 50, and she already assumes certain things. You've lived enough life to know who you are. You've experienced relationships, heartbreak, growth. You're not some confused young man still figuring himself out. This creates both attraction and fear in her mind. The attraction comes from your maturity, your groundedness, your stability. The fear comes from vulnerability. What if she opens up and you reject her? What if she shows interest and you think she's desperate? This is why she hides her desire inside questions that seem innocent on the surface. It's not manipulation, it's self-protection. Women have learned, often through painful experience, that revealing attraction too directly can backfire. Men might misread it as neediness. They might pull away. They might lose respect for her. So instead of saying, I'm drawn to you, or I've been thinking about you, she creates an emotional test disguised as casual conversation. These questions serve a dual purpose. First, they allow her to explore your inner world without exposing herself. She's reading your energy, your tone, your presence, not just your words. When she asks if you spend a lot of time alone, she's not concerned about your social calendar. She's measuring your emotional availability. Are you shut down? Are you open? Will there be space for her if she decides to move closer? Second, these questions protect her ego. If you respond with coldness or confusion, she can retreat without embarrassment. After all, she was just making conversation, wasn't she? Here's what makes this even critical for mature men. Women assume you've already lived most of your emotional chapters. They believe your patterns are set, your routines are established, your life is already full. This means they won't force their way in, they won't chase, they won't beg for attention. Instead, they'll ask once, softly, subtly, and watch how you respond. If you show awareness and warmth, the door opens wider. If you miss the signal or respond defensively, that door closes, often permanently. This isn't about games or testing for the sake of testing. It's about emotional intelligence. Women naturally filter for men who can read between the lines, who possess enough awareness to recognize what's really being asked. Because if you can't pick up on these subtle cues now, how will you understand her deeper emotional needs later? The questions aren't the destination, they're the beginning. They're her way of saying, I'm curious about you. Show me you're conscious enough to notice. And consciousness, presence, awareness, these qualities create attraction in ways that looks, money, or status never can on their own.
What she's really testing beneath the surface. Here's something most men completely misunderstand about these questions. They think a woman is simply making conversation or gathering basic information about their daily life. But that surface-level interpretation misses the entire point of why she's asking in the first place. When she poses these questions, there are 4 distinct layers she's actually exploring, and each one determines whether she moves closer to you or quietly pulls away. The first layer is your emotional openness. She's not wondering if you're literally alone in your apartment or house. She's measuring whether your heart has space for another person. Think about it this way. Many men over 50 have built walls around themselves after years of disappointments, failed relationships, or simply getting comfortable in their routines. These walls become invisible to the men who built them, but women sense them immediately. When she asks about your time alone, she's really asking, can I enter your world without forcing my way in? Will you welcome my presence or resist it? Are you emotionally available, or have you closed yourself off behind habits and patterns that leave no room for connection? The second layer goes deeper. It's about your inner direction. Women don't invest their emotions in men who drift through life without purpose or clarity. This doesn't mean you need to have your entire future mapped out or be climbing some corporate ladder. What matters is that your life moves with intention. She wants to feel that you know who you are at your core, that you're not stuck replaying old emotional patterns or living in the past, that you're building something meaningful, even if that something is simply a calmer, more conscious way of being. When she asks what you're looking for, she's checking whether you're awake inside or just going through the motions. She's asking herself, does this man have a center? Does he know where he stands? The third layer is your awareness. This is perhaps the most critical test because it reveals whether you can read between the lines of human interaction. Can you sense what's unspoken? Do you notice the subtle shifts in energy when a woman is interested versus when she's just being polite? Most men fail this test spectacularly because they take everything at face value. They answer her questions like they're filling out a survey. But a woman isn't looking for data, she's looking for recognition. She wants to know if you're the kind of man who understands that her questions carry weight and meaning beyond their literal words. The fourth layer ties everything together, your presence. Are you truly here in this moment with her? Or are you distracted, checked out, living half in your head and half in your phone? Women feel presence the way you might feel temperature. It's immediate and unmistakable. When you're fully present, she relaxes. Her body softens. Her voice changes. She begins to trust that being close to you might actually feel safe and nourishing rather than draining or disappointing. This presence communicates more than any rehearsed answer ever could. When she asks if you spend a lot of time alone, something shifts in the conversation. The air becomes different. Most men think she's just making small talk, maybe feeling sorry for them, or trying to fill an awkward silence. They couldn't be more wrong. This question is her way of opening a door without announcing it. She's testing whether your emotional world has space for her, whether you're available not just in schedule, but in spirit. Here's what's really happening in that moment. She's already pictured herself somewhere in your life, maybe sitting across from you at dinner, maybe walking beside you on a quiet evening, maybe closer than that. But before she takes even one step forward, she needs to know if you're the kind of man who welcomes connection or walls himself off behind routines and solitude. Women don't waste emotional energy on men who are sealed shut.
The trap most men fall into is answering too literally. They say things like, "Yeah, I'm alone most of the time," or "Not really, I keep busy," or "It depends on the week." These answers kill the moment instantly because they miss what she's actually asking. She doesn't care about your schedule. She cares about your heart. She wants to feel whether you're open or closed, whether closeness with you is even possible. A grounded man hears the real question beneath her words. He understands she's not interviewing him about his daily habits. She's measuring his emotional temperature. So he responds in a way that creates attraction instead of confusion. He might say something like, "I enjoy my space, but I'm always open to good company." Simple, calm, not desperate, not defensive. Or he could say, "I like my routines, but I'm open to someone who adds something meaningful." Notice what these responses do. They show you value your own life while making it clear there's room for the right person. This kind of answer does three powerful things at once. First, it proves you're not needy or lonely, which women find deeply unattractive in any man, especially a mature one. Second, it signals emotional availability without sounding like you're waiting by the phone for anyone to rescue you from boredom. Third, and this is crucial, it gently suggests that she could be someone worth opening that space for. You're not handing her the keys to your life, but you're letting her know the door isn't locked. Your tone matters just as much as your words. Stay relaxed. Don't rush to fill silence. Let your answer land softly. When you respond this way, she feels something shift inside her. She senses warmth, possibility, and safety all at once. She thinks, this man knows himself. He's comfortable alone, but not afraid of connection. He's not chasing me, but he's not pushing me away either. That balance is magnetic to women because it's so rare. Most men either sound like they're desperately alone or completely unavailable. You want to be neither. You want to be the man who enjoys his own company but recognizes quality when it appears. That's the energy that makes her want to move closer. 5. How to respond to "What are you looking for these days?" This question lands differently than the first one. When she asks what you're looking for these days, understand something critical. She's already decided you might matter. Women don't risk asking something this personal to men they feel nothing for. It exposes her. It makes her vulnerable. She only asks when she's considering you as someone real, someone she could emotionally invest in. Most men destroy the moment right here without even knowing it. They either shut down completely or swing too far the other way. The man who shuts down says things like, "I'm not really thinking about that right now," or "I'm just taking things day by day," or "I don't know, honestly." He thinks he's being casual, maybe even mysterious, but she hears something completely different. She hears drift. She hears uncertainty. She hears a man who doesn't know his own direction, and women cannot open themselves to men who drift through life without purpose. Then there's the opposite mistake, the man who sounds desperate. He says, "I really want a relationship," or "I'm tired of being alone," or "I'm ready for anything." He thinks he's being honest and open, but what she feels is neediness. She feels pressure. She feels like he's so empty inside that he'll cling to anyone who shows interest. Neither extreme works because neither carries the energy women respond to. What she's really measuring with this question goes deeper than your dating status or relationship goals. She wants to sense whether your life has direction, not career direction or financial goals, emotional direction, inner direction. She needs to know if you're a man who understands himself, who moves with intention, who isn't just passing time waiting for something to happen. Because here's what most men never grasp. Women don't emotionally invest in men who are stuck or stagnant, no matter how old they are or how much life experience they claim to have. The answer that creates attraction sounds completely different. It comes from a grounded place. You might say something like,
I'm building a calmer, stronger chapter of my life with the right people. Notice what that does. It shows movement, purpose, and selectivity all at once. Or you could say, I'm focused on meaningful connection, not forced situations. That tells her you're intentional, that you value depth, that you're not desperate for just anyone. Another powerful response, I'm looking for something that adds peace and substance to my life. This communicates standards without arrogance. It shows you're open but discerning. You're not closed off, but you're also not empty and waiting to be filled. What makes these answers work is the energy behind them. They prove you're emotionally awake. They show clarity without rigidity. They demonstrate that you know your worth and your direction, which creates safety in her mind. When a woman feels that safety, when she senses you're solid inside yourself, something shifts in how she sees you. Suddenly, you're not just another man. You become someone she can imagine opening herself to, emotionally and physically. She asked this question to decide whether moving closer to you makes sense. Your answer either invites her forward or quietly pushes her away. The choice is always yours. 6. The foundation that makes you attractive to mature women. Here's something most men completely misunderstand about attraction after 50. They think it's about looking younger, having more money, or proving their worth through accomplishments. But women who desire mature men aren't shopping for resumes or bank accounts. They're searching for something entirely different, something that can't be bought or faked. What makes you magnetic to a woman at this stage of life has nothing to do with external validation. It starts with how you listen. Not the polite nodding most people do while waiting for their turn to speak, but real listening. The kind where you hear the emotion beneath her words, where you catch the hesitation in her voice, where you notice what she's not saying as much as what she is. When she tells you about her day, her family, her worries, or her dreams, she's not looking for solutions or judgments. She's opening a window into her inner world, and your job is simply to be present with what she reveals. This depth of attention is rare. Most people are too distracted, too eager to fix things, too caught up in their own thoughts. When you truly listen, you create something powerful, emotional safety. And for women, safety is where desire begins. Beyond listening, there's the matter of presence. This isn't about being physically in the room. It's about being fully there, mentally and emotionally engaged with the moment you're sharing. Your phone stays silent. Your mind isn't wandering to tomorrow's tasks or yesterday's regrets. Your body language shows engagement. You look at her when she speaks. You lean in slightly. You respond with genuine interest, not rehearsed lines. This kind of presence communicates something profound, that she matters, that this moment matters, that you're not just going through the motions of connection, but actually experiencing it. Women feel this immediately. They can sense when a man is truly with them versus when he's just occupying space nearby. Then there's intention. Everything you do should feel purposeful, not accidental. A simple text in the morning that shows you're thinking of her, a genuine compliment that reflects something you actually noticed, a warm embrace that lasts just long enough to feel meaningful, an honest conversation where you share something real about yourself. These small, intentional acts create an emotional resonance that expensive gifts never will. Women remember how you made them feel, not what you spent. They remember the Tuesday afternoon when you called just to hear her voice, the moment you remembered something important she mentioned weeks ago, the way you looked at her like she was the only person in the room. What ties all of this together is being grounded in yourself. Women are drawn to men who feel solid inside, men who know who they are without needing constant validation. You don't have to have everything figured out. You don't need to be perfect or wealthy or impressively accomplished. You just need to be comfortable in your own skin, moving through life with quiet confidence and clear direction. When you combine deep listening, genuine presence, thoughtful intention, and inner stability, you create an experience she won't forget. This is what makes you attractive. Not your age, not your status, but the quality of emotional connection you offer.
You've spent decades learning who you are, building your life, weathering storms that would have broken younger men. And somewhere along the way, you started believing the lie that your value had diminished, that women no longer see you, that your best years are behind you. But let me tell you something that will shift everything you thought you knew about attraction at this stage of life. Women are watching you more carefully than you realize. Not the way they watch younger men with curiosity about potential.
They watch you with a different kind of interest entirely. They're looking for something rare, something most younger men simply cannot offer: presence. The kind of deep, unshakable calm that only comes from a man who has lived enough life to know himself completely. This is your greatest advantage, and most men over 50 have no idea they possess it. When a woman in her 40s or 50s observes you, she's not measuring your net worth or your physical appearance the way society tells you she should be. She's feeling your energy. She wants to know if you're still emotionally alive or just going through the motions. She's testing whether you carry yourself with quiet confidence or if you've resigned yourself to invisibility. And here's what matters most. She makes this assessment in seconds, through the smallest interactions, through the way you respond when she opens those two critical doorways into conversation. The power you hold right now is unlike anything you had in your 20s or 30s. Back then, you might have had more hair, more energy, more uncertainty masked as confidence. Now you have something infinitely more valuable: clarity. Women can sense when a man knows his own mind. They can feel when he's no longer performing or pretending. They're drawn to the man who has stopped chasing validation and started living with intention. This is magnetic in ways that youth and wealth can never replicate. But this power only works when you understand one fundamental truth. Women communicate attraction through questions, not declarations. They test your awareness before they reveal their interest. Those two questions about your solitude and your direction aren't random small talk. They're invitations wrapped in curiosity. And most men answer them as if they're filling out a survey, completely missing the emotional current running underneath. When you recognize what she's really asking, when you respond with the kind of grounded clarity that comes from knowing yourself, something shifts in her perception of you instantly. You don't need to become someone different. You don't need to pretend you're younger or chase trends that don't fit who you are. You simply need to show up as the man you've become: purposeful, present, and aware. Women aren't looking for perfection at this stage. They're looking for a man who has made peace with himself, a man who listens deeply because he's no longer obsessed with being heard, a man who moves with intention because he's learned that time matters, a man who recognizes interest when it appears because he's learned to pay attention to what people don't say. Your power as a mature man isn't diminishing. It's just been hidden behind the assumption that youth is everything. The moment you step into your awareness, the moment you recognize those quiet tests for what they truly are, you become exactly what she's been searching for. Before you move on from this message, understand something crucial about the days ahead. You're going to encounter women who ask you these questions, and in that moment, everything depends on whether you're truly present or just going through the motions. The difference between connection and missed opportunity lives in your awareness. Most men will hear words and respond with facts, but you now understand what's actually happening beneath the surface. She's not testing your resume or your bank account. She's feeling whether you're emotionally alive, whether your life has direction, whether stepping closer to you will feel safe and meaningful. When you recognize this, when you respond with calm clarity instead of nervous deflection, you're no longer just another man she tried to connect with. You become the man she's been hoping to find. This isn't about memorizing perfect responses or playing games. It's about being grounded enough in yourself that you notice when someone is genuinely opening a door for you. Women at this stage of life don't waste time with obvious signals or repeated invitations. They offer one quiet opening and then they move on. The question isn't whether women find mature men attractive. They do. The real question is whether you're awake enough to recognize it when it's happening right in front of you. Now you know what to listen for. Now you understand what those questions really mean. The rest is simply about being present when the moment arrives.